The dry cleaner asked, "Why do your suits come back smelling like formaldehyde?" Mrs. Huang pulled me aside at the counter, speaking quietly while other customers browsed the waiting area. "Every suit you've brought in for the past 3 months has this chemical smell. We have to run special treatments just to handle them. Are you working somewhere dangerous?" I stood there stunned, my mind racing through my daily routine. I worked in corporate finance, spending my days in air-conditioned offices looking at spreadsheets. The most dangerous chemical I encountered was printer toner. "That's impossible," I said, accepting the receipt she handed me. "I work in a bank downtown. Maybe it's my cologne?" Mrs. Huang shook her head firmly, her 40 years in the business evident in her certainty. "I know formaldehyde. My husband was a mortician before we opened the shop. Your clothes smell like you've been spending time in a funeral home or medical lab." The accusation was so bizarre I almost laughed, but Mrs. Huang's expression remained serious. She showed me notes in their system dating back 12 weeks, documenting the unusual chemical presence and the extra processes required to clean my garments. Each entry corresponded to Mondays, when I dropped off my weekly cleaning. The mystery deepened when I paid attention to my clothes over the next week. By Wednesday, I could detect a faint chemical smell on my jacket. By Friday, it was definitely noticeable, but I'd gone nowhere unusual. Just my regular routine of home, office, gym, and back. My girlfriend Amanda didn't notice anything when I asked her, but she had chronic allergies that affected her sense of smell. That weekend, I decided to track every location I visited, every person I interacted with, trying to identify the source. Nothing emerged until I installed a tracking app on my phone that recorded my movements. What I discovered made no sense. According to the GPS data, every Tuesday and Thursday between 2 and 4 p.m., my phone was at addresses I didn't recognize, but I was definitely at work during those hours, in meetings with dozens of witnesses. Either my phone was traveling without me, or I was somewhere without remembering it. I started leaving hidden cameras in my office and car, thinking someone was taking my things. But the footage showed my jacket hanging untouched, my car parked exactly where I'd left it. The formaldehyde smell continued growing stronger each week, and Mrs. Huang became increasingly concerned. The breakthrough came when I felt unusually drowsy after lunch on Tuesday. Instead of returning to my office, I sat in my car fighting overwhelming exhaustion. Through my rapidly closing eyes, I saw Amanda's car pull up beside mine. She got out, checked that I was unconscious, and drove my car away with me in it. I fought to stay awake, but whatever she'd put in my lunch was too powerful. I woke up 90 minutes later in my office parking spot, feeling groggy but otherwise normal. Amanda had drugged me, taken me somewhere, then returned me to work, counting on the drugs to prevent memory formation. But this time, I'd been aware enough to remember fragments. I pretended everything was normal while hiring a private investigator to follow Amanda. What he discovered was beyond disturbing. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Amanda was taking my unconscious body to a medical research facility where her ex-boyfriend worked. They were using me as an unauthorized test subject for a new embalming fluid designed to work on living tissue, a preparation method for eventual cryogenic preservation. The investigators found documentation showing I'd been exposed to dozens of experimental formulations. The ex-boyfriend, Richard, was a biochemist who'd become obsessed with preserving living tissue after his father's death. Amanda had volunteered me as his test subject in exchange for $50,000 and a promise to get back together once the experiments were complete. They'd been slowly introducing preservatives into my system, monitoring how my body processed them while unconscious. The police raid on the facility was swift and decisive. They found detailed medical records of my unauthorized treatments, videos of me unconscious on examination tables, and vials of various formaldehyde derivatives labeled with my name. Amanda and Richard were arrested immediately, charged with assault, medical fraud, and conspiracy to commit human experimentation without consent. The medical examination revealed alarming levels of various preservatives in my system. The doctors couldn't predict long-term effects, but I required immediate chelation therapy to remove the chemicals. The treatments were painful, leaving me weak and nauseous for months. Some damage appeared permanent, including liver scarring and neurological effects that still affect my memory. Amanda's trial revealed she'd been planning this for over a year, getting close to me specifically because my medical history made me an ideal test subject. She'd studied my routines, learned my allergies, and crafted the perfect sedative dose. The woman I'd loved had seen me as nothing more than a lab rat with a bank account. Richard received 12 years for human experimentation. Amanda got 8 years for conspiracy and assault. I received a settlement from the research facility's insurance, but no amount of money could undo the violation of being turned into an unwitting test subject. Mrs. Huang testified at the trial, her early detection of the formaldehyde potentially saving my life. 5 years later, I still can't smell formaldehyde without panicking. My liver function remains compromised, and relationships feel impossible when you've been betrayed so fundamentally. Sometimes I wonder if any part of Amanda's affection was real, or if every kiss was just checking my pulse, every embrace measuring my response to the latest chemical cocktail.